What's up, guys? This is the third rendition of my personal vlog that I decided to start doing. I appreciate those of you who checked out the first one. It was about adoption, and it was like the first time I was ever open about that part of me, I think, other than, some people that might know already that know me. But it was cool. It was cool to let that out there, and I appreciate the opportunity. This time I don't know if we're gonna stay lineal with regards to my timeline, but we'll try. I'd like to go a little bit off the cuff since it's a personal vlog, so I'm a little bit off the cuff from time to time. So we're in our third, fourth, fifth day of the coronavirus issue, health scare, and all the kids have been home, and it gave me an opportunity to reflect a little bit on my childhood and what it was like, and what these kids have, what I didn't have, what they now have, all that. And the one thing that I like to speak about is that my childhood was, in my eyes, growing up, was beautiful, was picture perfect. I don't know if I was spoiled, but I definitely didn't go without. I didn't get, top of the line things where I see some of my friends that they got that, and then I see some of my friends that didn't get anything. And I was really very fortunate, and I was fortunate because of my family's business. My father and my uncle had their business, and I think that's the direction we'll take today, is the family business. The presence of that is a unique situation. So it didn't, not a holiday went by, not a summer went by, not a year went by that we weren't involved or enveloped inside that family business dynamic. I know some people say don't take shop work home, but we lived it. It was something that I believe allowed me to see now today that, yes, I didn't go without as a child, but I also didn't go without knowing that my father worked for what he gave me. And that little intertwining lesson there is something that I'm trying to do now for the kids, because I'm probably giving them a lot more than my dad gave me, which is my choice. Good, bad, somebody else's opinion might vary there, but it's my choice. And I'd like to instill the same lesson to them that I got, which is, yeah, I'm gonna get you this. When you get older, you're going to have to work and get these things for yourself, but know that I'm getting them for you, and these aren't just free on a tree somewhere. Dad's working for them. I'm really trying to let that lesson land, and whether it doesn't land until they have children, that very well may be, because I know I didn't see it until I had kids. So, but the family business, man, that's a unique dynamic. Me going through it now, it has provided some of the biggest highs and some of the biggest lows. I went through my early acquisition of the family business kind of badly. My father's health wasn't great. There was partnership issues, all this, but I was young and dumb, and I said, sure, I'll take it. I got it. Housing market crashed and all that jazz a year or so later, 2 years later, and boom, big fall for us. Inside that fall was the beginnings of my marriage at the time. She was intricately involved in the business as well. So it, sometimes that doesn't work for you. It may work against you. All I will say on that is that you really got to put the effort forward to be open. If you have a spouse or a loved one involved in the family business, it is just so intimately intertwined inside your life and your emotions and your decisions and things like that. I know people will mention, they'll make a decision from the heart, make it from your mind, but I often make decisions from my heart. I trust my passion about what I am going to decide on and my desires rather than sometimes the obvious, answers. But to each his own. Lessons learned. But yeah, that early crash was the worst thing that happened to me, coming off of years of just making poor decisions and being young and dumb and going on vacations, buying unnecessary things, all that, and then it became an immediate flip. Now no vacations, I have a kid and divorced, and the business was upside down and had to start all over again. It was really, really trying. I put a lot of effort into that. Jumped trades even. Our family business is a single trade company, and I was just jumping wherever I could, hustling something down to make it work. And to get myself a platform. I essentially erased the majority of platform that was given to me by the previous generation, being it gone inside of an economic collapse, but also being gone inside of just I didn't carry the business the way it probably should have changed inside that moment in time. Lessons learned. But the family dynamic inside that is just crazy. The kids don't really see it most times, but this one had a divorce inside of it, and I think he saw it really, really close. I think he was able to handle it well because it was a family business, because the success or failures from that day forward were known that I got it. The family's got it. We'll do it. Daddy will do it. Mom will do her part. Dad will do her part, and we'll move forward. The whole 9-to-5 notion wasn't ever in his mind, and it still isn't to this day. This was maybe almost 10 years ago now, and it's my son does not know get to work at this time, you're off at that time type scheduling from his parents. Just doesn't know it. And I think it's cool, it's unique, but it's very telling, because while that schedule varies, it also provides me the opportunity to be present during times that I otherwise might not be able to. I'll put hard effort into a certain period of time, knowing that I have to be available for another period of time for him. And the family business dynamic allows me to do that. It allows me to push at times when some might be sleeping, or when some might be, just not in work mode. We're in work mode all the time. Like I said earlier, my dad, always was in work mode unless he was with me. That's my memory of it. Unless he was with me. And that's how I'd like to have it for my son. Technology nowadays is a bit different, because the phone's blasting off. People want immediate results, but we try to navigate that, and it's hard. It's hard. But the family business dynamic has so many intricacies in it that are special, and each need to be harnessed at I feel like just the right time. I had to go through a whole bunch of bad to even know what was good. Because what I thought was good in my earlier years was essentially the worst decisions that I could have made, and I am fortunate enough to be able to have a conversation with my kids and tell them, hey, this is going to be fun and great, and you'll have a memory of it, which very well may be needed for you, but know that if you don't prepare a piece of time, a piece of finances, a piece of life aside from the fun and games, that you might not be able to sustain that. That's exactly what happened to me. You never know when something is going to go blow up in your face, essentially, and like we're happening right now, with the coronavirus kind of quarantine, and restrictions are happening. Many of us did not prepare for any of this, financially or schedule wise or anything. People buying in excess now because of a scare, a panic, people dumping, their finances, stocks are falling, all this stuff is going on, fear and panic are running people's decisions right now. And if you are able to prepare well enough, I think now, because I didn't earlier, but if people are able to prepare well enough, early enough, that things like this, they don't even touch them. They're financially prepared enough to be like, hey, let's stay in the house for 2 weeks and work on the house. My paycheck isn't really needed because I prepared for it. Things like that. And again, I'm learning this right now also. I learned it a little late, but learned it nonetheless. And I hope I can pass that down to these kids, so that they get the little cheat sheet that I didn't have. Because I see my father now, and I know he's taught me lessons throughout the course of my life, and I know I've ignored a lot of them by being how I am, but I also know that I see where condition my father is in mentally and maybe financially and physically, and I didn't want that for myself. So I always felt in the back of my mind that decision for, picking up that massive load ultimately just wasn't for me. So instead of picking up the massive load, I picked up 10 smaller responsibilities and distributed the weight a little bit. That's a weird analogy. I don't know if you'll all get that out there, but I'm trying to just move a little bit differently so that my life in my later years is not as taxing as I'm watching his be. I can't have that. I'm telling myself that I don't want that. That part of the family business growing up, is what I am pushing to omit, so that then that next generation of mine sees that this isn't a whole life of labor and pressure on you physically, that you can use your mind and still be a tradesman and still be a business owner and be prosperous and be profitable and be real a successful human, and not have the struggle to pick up my grandkids when I'm older, or be able to be present for my kids when they have a need for me to watch them, my grandkids. I want that, and the family business is able to provide that. And I love that I have new partner now in the last 5 years in my home. We got another son, and I have another one coming, and they have two. She had 2 kids previous, so we have a big household now. So I'm really pushing this lesson hard on them, not forcefully, but just making sure that they always know that, man, I'm moving. You don't have what you have in front of you for free. It doesn't just grow on a tree for me to go pluck and bring home. I'm working for this, and I try to make sure that they're aware of that at a certain level. And it's just a totally different dynamic now. I'll touch on the family business inside of this is marriage, and I mentioned earlier that I had lost a marriage, not because of the family business, but it didn't help. The choices made the younger me were not as I don't want to say educated or knowledge based. They were just choices as a young kid, and it happens. It happens. My mom and dad are still married. I think this year is 50 years. I had envisioned myself to get to that same plateau, and I think I jumped into that notion without putting the work in to create the atmosphere for that to happen in, and then it just imploded. And that person is not in my life. I mean, there's still a good relationship there. There's still things that are really available. We do have a child together, but the family business dynamic of it, with regards to the home life, didn't transfer over, and it's super important. I know a lot of you must struggle with this, with the the shop talk at home, finances. Money's the number one killer for marriages, is it not? I probably some major stat to that. But to really discuss things, my new girl is very open to discussing all these things, all these intricacies, and she's from a different plane of professional world and home world, and we've really struck a good balance now, and I'm on a stride. So I'm not looking to fall off this track, and in doing so, I'm trying to keep everything open, everything available, everything in conversation, and it's something that I didn't do first time out, so I push that out to whoever's listening. You can't talk enough about what's on your mind, about what's going on in the business, about what's going on in the family, what's going on in the children's lives, what's going on in your partner's life. You can't talk enough. You can't, because right now I'm able to say some of the most deepest things to my partner now, my girl, that I wasn't able to do so before. And because I have that now, I think I'm able to make bigger steps towards saying, hey, this is going to happen now. I need to prepare for it. The kids prepare, all this preparation, so that when it happens, it's, we're aware of it. And, it really helped out. I think that's the major catalyst for the success that I've been able to see of recent. And the family business is going to keep moving, and it might change and morph into other things other than trades, but the dynamic of the family business, of being my own boss, providing some leadership skills to the kids, showing them that you can create a great balance between family and work and life and self, if you really put the work in, and to really communicate with the people around you. I have failed at that. I still continue to have my failures inside of that. It's still a huge learning process on a daily basis, but I've done what I have never been able to do before, which is acknowledge it. Man, when I was younger, there was no telling me anything that I was wrong. Never. Now I don't mind being wrong, because I can find a lesson inside of it. I don't mind taking the rough phone calls when somebody, on a business sense is telling me that, maybe I made a mistake, or, scheduling issues, I now will try to push forward and say, like, how can I fix it? Allow me to extend myself and fix it, so that relationship is at the very least open inside of communication, and like I said, it's hard. I'm still today managing it and having troubles, and things like this blog is helping. I employ all you out there to, speak, even if it's to yourself. Like, I don't even right now think that I'm talking to an audience. I think that I'm talking to myself, and it's helpful. Oftentimes I get stuck in my mind and the phone calls and the kids and my girl at home, and I don't make time for myself, and I lose track of things at times, as we all do. But the time that you're off track to getting back on track is crucial, and I'm finding that now. Family business, it's a relationship in itself. I know that I have a partner now, my girl, that didn't come from that, really, and it's a change for her. But with me being able to speak on it, she's adapted well and has now come to be a part of the business. I don't really know how well she feels about it, but I don't push like I did the first time. I probably just lied. I probably do push, but I try to push with a conversation after the push, whereas before I would just push blindly. So I always try to stimulate a little bit of conversation, so I would want to hear from anyone in that family business dynamic. How did it work out for you? Where did you fall? Where did you pick up? Where did you find success? How did you involve your family members that weren't part of the family business? Did you exclude them? I had a part of my world where my uncle, who was my father's partner, I could tell that there was a weird dynamic there, me being the son involved. And, I never got to speak to him about that. He has since passed recently, just last year. But, we didn't have the greatest relationship in professional years. And I think that was because of whatever that was that I never got to speak on, and I wish I had. Because now, looking back, it's inside my father and my uncle's business. They had a great dynamic. It was oil and vinegar, but nobody makes it 40 plus years by luck. Nobody makes it. A successful homes, successful, to children and things of that nature. Nobody makes it by luck without having to have a little, a work ethic and experience, and maybe a little luck, but an intuition to do some things and take the risk, take the jump. So that's one conversation that I missed out on in my recent years. But I talked to my father about some of these things, and I can tell that there was a dynamic in between them that really would have made that conversation with my uncle valuable. I see and hear my dad's lessons, but I never got to hear my uncle's. And I would venture to say some of them would be very similar to what I'm thinking and doing now, with regards to taking a bit off my shoulder as of one major load and dispersing it out, diversifying myself a bit, I'm not so sure how much more I want to dive into the family business right now, But again, I would love to hear people and their reactions, stories about family business, about what they were able to do with it. You know, it's fun. I love it. I would think of nothing else at this very moment in my life. I only want to make it bigger and expand. So hit me up. Let's hear something. I still want to hear from you from the last one. I thank you again for giving me this platform. I hope that I added a little bit of value, or at the very least, a place that you can share some of your family business contractor stories. It doesn't have to be a contractor even. I mean, you know, there's any family business. You know, reach out. I want to have a dialogue with someone about this. You know. Thank you very much. And I will hear back from some of you, I hope. Kind of in my head a little bit right now. Some of the thoughts aren't coming out. I think I'm a little bit in my heart rather than in my head, because of what's happening right now. It's a opportunity right now, and I want to harness it, and I want to be able to share and help not only my family, but anybody listening, anybody relating to anything that I'm saying. You know, the thing that I'm noticing trending right now is a bit of truth, a bit of networking, and not so much networking in your what you know. I feel like more people, maybe it's just me, are reaching out to people that they didn't know, you know, through social media and things like that, and just for the first time seeing the availability of another person providing something for them. You know, people can reach out to me right now, and if they have a question about anything, be it with my business or just these videos or life, I will have a conversation, you know. And I think more and more people are doing that now, and I see a huge opportunity for a change. You know, maybe in years past, I saw so much isolation from people. Everybody getting what they got and holding it. You know, I can't share, no share, no share. But now I think the sharing is how we both get more and prosper, and then hand all that down. You know, generational wealth, not only financially, but through experience and knowledge. You know, I know I was not open to that in my earlier years. Not open to that until now. So thank you guys. Hit me up. This one was kind of a little slow, a little bit, like I said, in my heart and my head today, but hopefully you got something from it. I appreciate the listen. So till next time, thanks. Bye.